you've got to really want to change, because the wanting to change is the 90% of actually doing the change. Yeah. So just make sure it's not a passing like, oh, I really want to lose 3 stone. Well, don't we all? But how badly do you want to do that? What are you willing to do? You can't just say, I want to change X, Y, Z without your whole life changing as well.
Good morning.
Morning.
Or afternoon if you're listening in the afternoon, or evening if it's evening when you're listening.
Standard. It is morning now.
It's morning for us.
Bright and early here.
It is. Today we are chatting. Actually, first of all, welcome to just another group chat, the WBCo podcast of the guys in here. That it's basically a little bit like a fly on the wall situ. So we're going to have some chats today with our lovely Laura.
Yes, indeed.
Say hi.
Hi.
And our lovely Nina.
Hello.
What we're talking about? Any ideas, Laura?
Nah, I'm just game for out me.
Have you had? So you've done loads of research on this.
Yeah, loads. I've got notes in my head.
We're talking about, can you change?
Oh Lord, I hope so.
So I'm going to break this up a little bit because I think there's so many different avenues you can talk about in terms of changing as a person. And we're going to start with relationships. Because that's the obvious one, isn't it? You're like, can you change, or you hear, he'll never change.
Oh, leopard never changes its spots.
A leopard never changes its spots. So that's more of a relationship thing. Why? So what's your experience with that then?
I think some people, I'm not sitting on the fence because it's not something I enjoy. Get spelks in your bum. But I think in some ways you can change, because just by sharing your life surely with somebody else, unless you're going out with somebody who is like a mirror image of you, you are going to change, because there's the whole adage of you are a direct reflection of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Mm-hmm. So then if you change out one of those people, you will then change. Mm-hmm. So you'll just kind of like, hopefully you'll be opened up to things that you weren't aware of before and things like that. But I think the crux of what you believe in or how you behave, it depends how entrenched that behaviour is.
And whether you've got a growth mindset, I think.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because, how old were you both when you got in your first relationship, like serious relationship?
19, 20.
16.
15 hours. Young, started young. I was 15.
St. Anthony's girls, straight out the gate.
If I was still the same person and I hadn't changed to what I was when I was 15, that's meant, there's no way. Imagine.
I'd hate myself.
Yeah. And I think there is, people say, we've grew old together. Like, what that means is you've changed together and you've adapted together. Do you know what I mean? It's not about, So first thing, why do we want a partner or a relationship to change in the first place? What's your experiences of people saying, I want you to change, or I should change, or whatever it might be?
I think it's usually if something's happened or something's gone wrong.
Cheating, Nina, you can say it.
All right, okay. Cheating.
It's if they fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, but it's not just cheating. Have the cheated, got a gambling addiction, gone back on something that they'd always said, you could be like, whoa, no. But then also, if you change, you kind of, because I'm a big believer in just because a relationship ends doesn't mean it was a waste of time. Like if you've changed and you've grown, I do believe you can outgrow people, but it's just whether you want to keep that person around and they want to stay around as you change.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
It's normally when you're asking somebody to like change their ways or whatever it might be, it's normally a specific way that they are, or a bad habit, I think. It could be about morals, or it could be about willingness to self-reflect, or willingness to see their own flaws.
I think the love languages comes into a lot of that for me, because I know there's a concept that if you don't speak the same love language, that you're not compatible, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. You might not, you've just got to accept that the other person speaks a different love language, and just appreciate that. For example, I respond a lot to, I'm a very tactile person. The unicorn is not. So I can tell that he purposely makes an effort
Right.
to be affectionate and tactile and whatnot, whereas I make an effort to not be too smothering.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So you don't have to.
They're really like subtle changes. You're not changing your whole
True.
personality. You're both like adapting to each other.
Yeah, that's
so
a very valid
I have a
point.
slight theory that any change, all it requires is, well, any change in most people requires communication in a relationship stance.
Yeah.
And that's both ways. So usually if you think about these scenarios where all it requires is communication and decent communication between each other and understanding on a deeper level of each other. I also think though that you'll hear about people who are like aware of what they're doing, they're aware of their mistakes, but they keep making them and they don't learn from it. That's when you're like, there's a red flag. That's when you're like, this person's never going to change.
There has to be a want to do it as
There has
well.
to
Like
be,
you
yeah.
just said there that you both like know each other and you know what you're making a conscious effort, and you have to like want to do that, don't you?
Yeah.
You have to.
I think it's the consequences have to mean something. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the consequence, like if you don't change, I don't know. Like, I think, let's give a scenario. Somebody has been in a relationship and one of them keeps cheating on the other person. And the other person keeps finding out. And they keep saying, why have you done this again? And they're devastated and they go through a whole, oh, I'm so sorry. And then they get back together and then they cheat again. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it.
Because they know they can.
Because the consequence isn't big enough.
Yeah.
Because there's no like repercussion.
Yeah.
Because there's not big enough a consequence.
Yeah.
If that person thought, I'm going to get found out and I'm going to be by myself and this person's going to leave us, would they continue to cheat?
Well, that's it. That the answer to that question is whether you should be with them or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you think, oh, if he found out that I was cheating and he'd split up with us, would I still cheat? If the answer is yes, then you shouldn't be with him in the first place.
Yeah.
Because you obviously don't care.
Yeah. It is. It's a funny one, isn't it? Do you think in that scenario then a leopard never changes its spots?
I don't know how I feel about that.
There's a few people out there that will literally say once someone has cheated on you, boom.
I
Don't
don't
go back.
believe that. In my experience, to be fair, if someone's cheated on us, they have continued to do so.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, without doubt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I've
Interesting,
let it happen.
Yeah.
And I've been like, oh, I've got engaged for the first time off the back of an argument of him cheating.
No. Whoa.
Tapped. Yeah.
Nina, have you been cheated on?
No, not that. I mean,
Never?
Not that I actively know of. No.
Really?
Yeah.
God, I think
What's that like?
I know, yeah. I actually don't know what that's like.
No, I don't.
No, but I was with the same person for a very long time, so that's probably.
Again.
Yeah, it doesn't make
Again, you're both like, no, it doesn't matter. I don't know.
Nah.
No, that's why I feel like I'm very naive to it. That's why when you say like, can a leopard change his spots?
So do you think they can?
No, because I feel like I've been brought up and like sort of instilled in me that like don't it's really hard to say, isn't it? Like, don't allow that behaviour. Like, don't
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
If that happened to me, I'd be like,
Don't enable it.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think I would draw a line, and I think I couldn't get over it.
Yeah.
But then equally, it's so much more complex than that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as black and white as that. You can't just go like,
Yeah.
oh well, I'd never forgive, and like there's other
Yeah.
elements to things, isn't there? Like, it's your whole life.
I used to forgive, but then internalize the rage and the hurt and the whatever.
rage.
So it wasn't as if I'd be like, oh, mate, it's a cup of tea. No, oh, remember that time you cheated on us? But that's what I would be constantly thinking. I'd be like, oh, that's nice for you.
But that's what I mean. So you can't get over that.
No.
Like, you can't draw the line. Like, I think
You have to be accepting of either. I think if anybody's in this situation, I think my advice would be to either accept, move on.
Yeah,
and
otherwise
move on from it.
You're going to hold that.
Or
Yeah, you can't
you're
bring it
gonna
up
be
every-
like,
yeah.
you're gonna have to accept it and move on. And if you can't literally do that where you are, every time they piss you off, you're thinking,
Yeah.
you fucking cheated on me.
Yeah, yeah.
Then leave. Because that's not going to be healthy for either of you. And I think that's when that can change the other person.
Yeah.
So I know in a past relationship for me, I had been cheated on and we actually got back together. I was about 20 actually. We got back together. I was about 20 and I became a different person. I was like jealous, paranoid.
Yes.
So every time they leave the house,
yeah.
you're like,
I was like, where are you? Who you with?
I can imagine that.
And this was like before iPhones or anything. So if you didn't text us back, I'd be like, where is he? What's going on? What's happening? And that changed me.
Yeah.
And it lasted about 3 months before I was like,
who am I?
who is this person that I have become? And I don't like this version of myself. Therefore, I'm actually now going to break up with you.
yeah,
And this is going to be, and he was like distraught and what have you. And I was like, nah, see you, bye.
yeah.
No, this is not working. So it's mad, isn't it? Everyone's different. And I do know people who have been cheated on or they've had, and then the other person has changed completely and they've mended their ways or whatever it might be. And then they're happy and that's about how those two people communicate that through their relationship going forward. So for me, again, it's about communication.
I always have that though, when somebody's cheated on you and then all of a sudden they're like boyfriend of the year and falling all over you. And I just think, if I hadn't found out, you wouldn't be doing this. And why would you not be treating us as well as you are now?
Yeah, yeah.
Why weren't you treating us like
guilt.
that? Yeah.
Guilt, yeah.
Like, and it just, to me, it's never worked. But that's not to say never say never.
I think, I know that I know a few people that have kind of managed to, like you say, draw that line and get over it and stuff. And they've said, oh, he or she's a changed person. And,
No.
and they've managed. But again, I think, because people make mistakes.
Oh,
people
yeah.
do make mistakes. And we shouldn't demonize or treat people like their worst mistake. I guess I wouldn't like to judge somebody based on my worst mistakes.
Yeah.
So I think I wouldn't like to do that to somebody else. But I do think that, some people can work it through, some people can't. And I think you have to figure out for yourself whether you can or whether you can't get over that line and whether you can communicate your relationship.
And I think we've got to have no judgment on people that do, like you say, for example, decide to stay.
Oh yeah.
If they've worked that out, then they've worked that out.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't mean that the other person's a bad person.
Yeah.
Like you say, everybody makes mistakes and things happen, and that's just.
In the words of Will Smith.
Oh no.
Oh, here we go.
I'm a work in progress. Did you see that?
I did. I saw it last night.
I'm Bob. Behave yourself.
Sincerely.
Just
Will.
own
Sincerely.
it. Own
Sincerely,
it.
Will.
Just own it, Will. Own it. Didn't backpedal. Just own it. You did what you did. You smacked a bitch down. Just get over it.
Oh no, we'll not go down that route because it could all get controversial. All right, so relationships, can you change? Is there an answer? Yes and no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think?
I think it depends on the person.
I think if you want to and you want to make it work, if you want it enough, then yes.
But it's the same with anything. If you want to change.
Yeah.
I think it really, really does depend on the person's willingness to delve into their own self-reflect and figure out why their behaviour is deep-rooted in them in the first place.
Yeah, totally.
That's my answer. Not quite as simple as yes or no, but...
Yeah, I agree.
Growth and evolving. So moving on to the next kind of category as such, about growth as a person, us evolving, us changing as people. There's different ways we can do that in our careers, in our personal lives, as mothers. There's a million different ways we can grow and evolve. Like I, especially as a mother now, I'm a very different person to what I was before I was a mother.
Yeah.
That is about to change here, isn't it? That's the first thing, I think.
Yeah, I think any major life event is going to change you as a person.
Yeah.
Births, deaths,
How are you
marriages.
different? What
I
do you feel?
This is gonna sound really bad, but it's nice.
So bad.
It's gonna sound. How do I explain it? When Addie was first born, this is gonna sound really strange, but I'm gonna say it. This is what this podcast's about.
Just say it.
When Addie was first born, it felt strangely like it felt really strange being a little bit further and further away from her, even from one room to the next, because you almost feel like they're still attached. So the only way I can describe it is like it feels like the umbilical cord is still there and you are still attached to that tiny baby, like that tiny little human. And the further away you get, it pulls.
Okay.
I know, and it hurts. It really hurts. It's like, oh no, like, and the further away you can get from that human and that person, it's like, and that to me doesn't go. So even now, like I can be in another city and the further away I am from her, the more I'm like, I feel that pull.
You're conscious of it all the
Uh-huh.
time.
Yeah.
And that I've never had that before. So before it in a way, I felt a little bit freer.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I get that.
Yeah, because you don't
Yeah.
have that constant pull in
Yeah.
your tummy that's like, oh, get back to your child. Get back
This
to your
tiny
child.
human that needs you.
Yeah. And I know I've read a little bit about this, and it is like an instinctual thing.
Yeah.
And not everybody has it, and if you don't, that's fine. But I do.
Yeah.
So for me now, even when it comes to, I bungee jumped before, I've done all sorts of random stuff. I probably would be a lot more reserved now in doing certain stupid activities,
Like risky things.
Conscious of
risky
it,
things,
yeah.
driving long distances. Because previously I wouldn't have even questioned it. It's just
Yeah.
me in the car, just driving a long distance, drive 6-7 hours. Now I'm like, oh, how long is it going to take us to get back to her? If she needs us, how long is it going to take for me to get back?
Yeah.
And can I do a 6 or 7 hour drive if she's not well or anything? It's always there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and previous, I had 1,000,001 things to think about. So you're thinking about life, you're thinking about your tea, you're thinking about work, you're thinking about your family, you're thinking about whose birthday it is next, and you're thinking about what you're doing at the weekend and when you're next going to get a day off and all these different things. And then when you have a baby, it's like everything gets cloudy and all you can think about is this person. And you physically can't think about anything else. Do you know when you first fall in love with somebody?
Yeah, yeah.
And you can't think about anything else
Yeah.
on your brain all the
right,
time.
yeah.
It's like that times 1,000,000.
Well, that's
So
horrifying.
no, and you literally like, I can't focus or concentrate because eventually that kind of dulls down a bit stuff, but it's always there. Sometimes I'm in the middle of a meeting and I'm like, oh, my child. Oh yeah, just thinking about her. Lovely, she's gorgeous, she's lovely. Right, back to the meeting. It's
that
like your brain.
explains it.
It's like, it does. It's like your brain, and it is, again, it's a nature thing that your brain continually has, and some people call that mum guilt. I have changed it now because I now understand what mum guilt is, and I try not to make me feel guilty about it.
It's like a little alert in your brain.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Whizzing
yeah.
around all the
It is.
time.
It is. Yeah.
Going like,
And it's
addy, addy, addy.
yeah, and it's an instinctual thing to make sure that you continue to mother your children. And there's like scientific stuff around it and that. But so that's how I changed having Addie. I think. Be more sensible in that, have I? I've got to be more sensible now.
Well, yeah. I mean, not completely.
No, I'm still daft.
Yeah, you've got to live your life.
Yeah.
Because I mean, she doesn't want a boring mom.
No.
She'd be like, oh,
I just do
wow.
daft things with her now.
Oh yeah.
God, what are you going to do if she's like, Mum, I'm doing a bungee jump?
Do you know what my mum said this to me, and I get it. When I went to Africa, she said 2 things: don't go near any crocodiles, and don't do a bungee jump.
So you did both.
What
did
great
both.
advice from Donna the Crocodiles. That's such a good
It's because when we got there, my mum asked them. We were doing an interview like with the company. We've digressed, but still. And they said, my mum asked, "Has anybody ever died on one of these trips?" And they said, "Yes, 3 people." Wow. And she was like, "What?" Like one died in a water sports injury thing. One something else happened, and one got ate by a crocodile.
Ate by a crocodile? Oh my God.
What?
I know.
You've put that woman through hell.
I know. So she, I rang her one day and I was like, I've just done a bungee jump over the Nile. She was like, I told you. And I was like, nah, it's fine, man, I'm alive.
See how you told her after? You
Yeah,
didn't
I
tell her
told
before.
her. Yeah.
I was 18. I was living my life.
That's the case.
But yeah, growing, evolving, changing. Like I've said this before. If you look back at the person who you were 5 years ago, have you changed? Have you evolved? Have you grew?
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, most people should say yes to that.
Mm-hmm.
If you say no to yourself now and you think you're the exact same person as you were 5 years ago, my advice would be self-reflect a hell of a lot more. Reflect on your behaviours. Reflect on what you like about yourself, what you don't. Listen to our New Year's podcast on a past year's review instead of a New Year's resolution, and think about how you can be better yourself.
And challenge yourself. Like it's hard to
Yeah.
challenge yourself, like to push yourself out of your comfort zone is awful. Nobody likes to do it. But if it helps you or it's going to make you grow.
It's the key, I think, to understanding ourselves and who we are. Really, we don't actually know ourselves very well, do we? If you think about it.
A lot of people don't.
Like, I think we're always getting to know who we are and what our deeper rooted actions are, I think. And I'm still learning that now. Like, I'm thinking, why the hell did I do that?
It always boggles my mind when you point something out to somebody and they are totally shocked. Like about somebody's behaviours or something they do regularly, and they're like, "Do I? Oh my goodness, I didn't realise that." Because I like to think that if I'm pissing someone off, I know I'm pissing them off, and I'm purposely pissing them off for a reason.
Yeah.
But if I've done it and I don't realise it, I'm like, "Oh shit!" Like that's a problem.
Yeah. Do you think we know ourselves very well? Like, do you know yourself?
I think I do now.
Do you know yourself?
No, I like to think I do. And then, like you say, when somebody tells me something, or when we did that insight training here, which was like, it's like a psychology test?
Yeah.
It's like a personality
sort of thing. And then when I read it back, I was like, oh.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was like, oh. But like, I think I did know, I think just some elements of my personality, I'm like, oh, I like to think that I'm not like that, or I like to think that I am like that, and I'm actually not.
Yeah. I think that insight, one of the reasons why we do it is there's a little, again, scientifically, there's a thing called Johari's window, and in there it shows you the different elements of yourself, and there's a part in there that is where your blind side. Yeah. So it's what you aren't aware of, but other people are. And that's where I'm fascinated.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I'm like, well, I just was unaware that I am this kind of person, and everybody else is completely aware of it. Me and Donna crease about this, because one day I made a joke about her and said something about her being the most patient person in the world. She looked at me genuinely seriously and went, I am really patient? And I was hysterical, laughing, and she genuinely thought she was a patient person, and we were hysterical. I said, you need to ask every single person who knows you if you're patient, and everybody was like, hell no, you are absolutely not a patient person. And she found it hilarious that she was going, for all these years I honestly would have said I'm a really patient person. I was like, what? Girl.
That's what I mean when somebody tells you and you're just
you're just so shocked.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I think people should always be trying to figure out what those things are.
It happened in one respect as well. A lot of that can come from masking, because everyone thinks I'm a really sociable person. Fucking hate people.
Yeah, because you're so bubbly and outgoing.
I really do. Like, I just like to go home and shut the door. And just, if you've got 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. Like, if you can speak to me, get the fuck out. Like, I just want me cats, me gin, and then but I think that, I think that's just because I've got quite an extreme personality. Like, so I'm either really, really sociable, laughing, giggling.
Have you always been like that? Because I remember, I mean, it was years and years and years and years and years ago. But I think you might have been more of a people person when you were younger than you are now.
Potentially. I think I've got better.
Were you a people pleaser previously?
No, I was an attention seeker.
Right, okay.
So I was the clown.
Yeah.
So I just like to be the centre of attention, because I'm an only child. I've got no cousins.
Yeah.
So I was an attention seeker because I liked to be the centre of attention. Whereas now I like to be the centre of attention up to a certain point, and then I'm like, fuck off. Leave me alone. I have played my part. I've made you all laugh. Now I'm going home to my bed, and I'm going to sit in my Mrs. Hinch pyjamas. Shower, Mrs. Hinch. I'm going to sit in my Mrs. Hinch pyjamas in my bed watching Superstore. Don't talk to us. Don't text us. Don't ask us for anything. Yeah. Don't ask us to make a decision. Leave. But I think I went through a phase where, when I was like maybe late teens, early 20s, where I was just horrible because I just had zero empathy.
Really? In your teens?
In my teens and early 20s, zero empathy, because I think instead of dealing with things that had happened to me, I internalized it all. So I was just really angry. Instead of dealing with it and getting over it, I was just really angry. And I thought, I can't sympathize with you because you don't know what I feel at the minute.
Yeah.
So no matter what your problems are, mine are worse.
Yeah, I was a bit like that. You know, I think when I was younger, we were all I was actually very shy. And now I'm looking at my own child and thinking, this is what I was like.
Yeah.
But I had a twin sister who was very much wanting to be the centre stage, or always wanting the attention. And I was always beside her.
Kirsty,
never. So I was always on the stage, literally, beside my sister, who was like quite confident and comfortable. And I was a bit like, oh my God. And so I think actually, I don't think I would, and it's now I look back and I'm thankful, because I don't think I would be as outgoing, or I wouldn't have as much confidence even speaking to people if I hadn't have been for Kirsty.
Yeah.
Because she dragged me through that. But it actually helped me. Otherwise I would probably be like painfully shy. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but for me, in my position and my job and everything, I wouldn't be here, I don't think, if it wasn't for that.
But I think that's also helped, because I think you in like your job and your role in the business and whatever, because you have a confidence, but a reserved confidence.
Yeah.
So it's not so much a showy, like loud, but then because of that, when you speak, people listen. Because they know it's not just noise.
It's quiet confidence.
I used to work with a girl who, she very rarely spoke in meetings, but when she did, everybody listened.
Right. Yeah.
And I learned, I mean, I didn't learn anything from it, as in I put it into practice because I never showed. But I remember thinking, that's nice.
Yeah.
Like, that's really good that when she does speak, we all like stop and listen.
Yeah.
Because we know that she must have something valid to say.
Yeah.
But
I think when I look back, I was thinking about this last night. When were the points in my life when I like changed? Or was there any specific points when I changed? There was, and I think a couple of things. When I was younger, I mean, I used to say, I was probably about 12, right? And I used to say this. And I don't know where it came from, but now it's like, why did I used to say that to people? I became very mistrusting at a very young age, especially of men. We had a traumatic incident in the family when I was 10, and that made me just not trust men, like, at all. And I was 10, so I remember thinking, right, that's it. I'm never gonna. And I was literally like, it's a barrier, isn't it? I think when you have some kind of trauma, you just, and I remember thinking, nah. And I used to say to people, well, if you want to get in our family, first you've got to go through my gran, then you've got to go through mum, then you've got to go through me.
I love it. Which is not a lie.
It's not really a lie when you think about it now, but it's like, that was me like creating, what's the thing off the Fockers, Meet the Fockers?
Oh, the circle of
trust.
Yeah.
It was me literally putting a circle of trust around my entire family and just telling everybody vocally, didn't mess with my family. Do not mess with us, because I am not going to be happy about it if you do.
Yeah. See,
that changed me, like, as a person. Eventually, I was like, chill out, Kim. Like, recognised it.
It's such a young age to be aware.
Yeah.
But it's just the effect trauma has, isn't it? Like,
Conversely,
from being like 4, 5, when my mum and dad or my grandparents something used to say to me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And do you know what I used to respond every time?
What?
Married.
No.
Every single time.
Whoa.
And my nana once made that. No, it wasn't my nana. It was my nana's sister-in-law. Once made the massive mistake of saying, "Who to?" And I think I was about 4, and I was like, "Well, a husband, of course."
Really?
Mm-hmm. That was a response. That's explains a lot, but yeah.
One of my exes. This is Gwen for you.
Hey.
We're in the car with one of my exes, and we were chatting about babies and kids and things. And she said, "Oh, you know, Kim, it'll be lovely when you have babies. You'll be a lovely mother." And then she went, not of course with him, but like, you know, when you find somebody, you know. He was like, well, and I was like, oh my God.
This is why
I love it.
She is the queen.
I mean, she just says it. Why not?
I love it.
She was like, absolutely, are you not having children with this man?
To his face. I love it.
Was she right though?
Oh, she was so right. Yeah. She was so right. You've got to listen to Gwen when she tells you something.
Oh, I shouldn't smell them a mile off.
Yeah.
And if you're getting our prayer list.
Oh, that's it. You're winning.
You are winning.
You are winning in life. I've been praying about you.
Oh, it makes me day when she says that.
So for me, I think there's a few things when I look back, that changed me. I remember recognising and understanding that I didn't want to be the relationship, when I got a bit older, I recognised I didn't want to be a jealous person and that I wasn't about to accept that in myself. Obviously becoming a mother, there's a few things that I was like, wow. And I think that became or has become something that I've now naturally done. If something goes really bad in my life now, or if life fucking hits us in the face, I am like, whoa, what can I learn from this? How am I wanting to react, and how did I react, and why did I react that way? And what can I do differently, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
I'm very self-reflective though.
That's good though, isn't it?
It's have
you learned that? Or
I've learned it, definitely I've learned it. Yeah.
That's what I
think honestly, because I think at some point it resonated with us that actually my actions are my responsibility, and that I can't blame the world for what's happened to us.
Yeah.
So
which I did for a long time.
And I did as well. And then I thought, do you know what? Like, life is fucking hard. And then I remember thinking, I can only control my actions and reactions to life.
Not everyone
I can't
else's.
control what happens tomorrow. I can't control that. And because I'm a control freak, I have to accept and say, I have got no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. All I can control is how I react.
Yeah.
And what I'd like to do is react in the best way possible as a human for me. That's going to give me some kind of inner peace and still feel love and not become what I know I think I could be if I didn't do those things.
Do you know what me and Jessie...
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Jessie and I went to a mindfulness course.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Which was so good. And when we were talking about being mindful, people always think it's just like emptying your mind of all thoughts, which is impossible. The way the guy who was teaching us put it is that you need to remember that the only thing that is real is the present moment. Everything else is either memory or imagination. And that really resonated with me. And I think if you apply that to most things, that's where you get that. Change becomes easier almost, because you only have to change in that present moment. You can't change the past because it's happened, and who knows what's going to happen in the future because it's just imagination.
Yeah,
and I like to kind of like bring it back to that whenever I can.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah. What about you then? Have you got any kind of like moments where you were like, oh wow, this changed me as a person?
Yeah, I think when I first...
Obviously, I know you've had a lot of...
Yeah. Emotional damage. I think the first major one was when I lost me godmother.
Right.
Because I was 14. And up until that point, my life was actually perfect. Like, I didn't know unhappiness.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like, and I can remember my mum having the conversation with us. I was doing my hair, and badly, obviously, because I was 14. And she came in and she just said to us, you do realise that your Auntie Mary isn't going to get better.
Oh.
And it was at that single moment, and that's where that anger started. And that kind of like, this is not fair. Because my
How old
whole...
were you?
14. Because my whole life I had both sets of grandparents, I had 2 great grandparents, and I'd never experienced any kind of loss. So then when that matriarch was kind of taken, I was just like, took it as a personal, like, why is this happening to me? And to the point where I would see other old people, I mean, she wasn't really all that old, she was in her late 60s. I saw other older people walking down the street and be like, why are you here and she's not?
Yeah, I say when I was 10, it was similar. Like, we nearly lost Mandy, but she's still with us, thankfully.
Yes.
But it was very, very touch and go. And we didn't know for days. We didn't know. And it was like, why?
Yeah.
And I know, Nina, you lost your brother unexpectedly. It's got to have changed you.
Oh, absolutely, like massively. Like, you've just said it, like, a really good point. Like, I feel like up until, I always think like I was 100% happy up until that moment, and then I'll never get that. I'll never be 100%. I might get to 99. I might get to 98. Hopefully I'll get there, but I'll never, that piece is missing, and that's gone now.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of change, I think when people say like you've lost somebody really close to you, that they think like, you see TV and film, you're like, well, I've experienced this loss and I'm going to go and travel the world and like, skydive and whatever. And
Must
it's
be
just
nice.
like, and it's like the reality of it is just not.
Yeah.
For some people it is. I'm sure for some people they want to like, they're all of a sudden like, I want to do all these amazing things. But for me, it was just like, I like craved normality. Like I craved going, like I did some very, in that period after, probably when I look back now, I'm like, what the hell was I doing? Like some very strange things, like I went to the garden centre and like stuff like that, like because you're just craving normality.
What it was like before that.
Do you know what?
happened.
That's really funny you said that. When I lost my first baby, I went to the garden centre.
It's just
Isn't that mad? I literally wanted normality, and I said, I need to do something.
Normal?
I need to get out the house.
Yeah.
I need to do something normal, and I went to the garden centre. That's really strange.
What made me say that was because I went with my mum. A short period of time after, which everyone like thinks you're just going to haul up in your house, which you do. But the part of you is like, I just need to go and do something. And I don't know why, we just like drove silently to the garden centre, and I saw somebody there. I saw like one of my childhood friends there, and he looked at me, and I remember him just looking at me, and then I remember thinking like, what am I doing in the garden centre? Like all of a sudden just thinking like, what like he's obviously thinking, what the hell are you doing here? Like obviously, why wouldn't he be thinking that? But I think you crave a bit of normality, and you want to put everything back as quickly as you possibly can. And it just doesn't happen.
It doesn't. For me, I remember we drove silently there, and we went and bought a plant. It was all very emotional. And then we were driving back, and we got stuck in front of a load of sheep. And it became really funny.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I can laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting emotional now.
Yeah.
But and I just remember thinking,
well, the first time you laugh after a situation like that, you think, oh, I can still laugh.
Yeah.
Like it's all right.
I'm getting emotional.
Like because it's hard. Because it's like what you've just said is like I went from I was 24 and I like to think I was like, confident. I was happy. I had everything that I wanted. To me, life was going. I had no concept of what loss is. No concept. No concept. I just had no idea. And then all of a sudden, it's like your life just flips upside down, and you change as a person. And I've actively tried. I went through a period of you're just in total shock. I went through a period of being total shock, and then I went through a period of being just so angry at everybody and everything. And like you say, look at people and think like horrible things, like why are you alive? Like how horrible is that to think that? Like it's awful. But you go through that stage, and then you go through a stage of like, well, this has happened, and I have to either I'm very much like get on with it. Like I'll try not to wallow. Like try just get on with it. But as a person, I think my confidence has took a knock. I've took a knock. Like it's
which you would never expect. You wouldn't expect a loss like that or a bereavement to affect your confidence, but somehow it does, because it to me it shifts your foundations.
Yeah,
because that thing or that relationship that you probably didn't realize at the time, especially if it was a shock, that made you kind of part of who you are. When you take that away, you're like, oh.
But it's not just you, it's everyone around you.
Yeah.
So your whole, if something happens to you, then you have that foundation. Like if you have a good stable foundation of friends and family, like you have that foundation, and you're like, well, if something bad happens to me, I know that these people have got my back. But when it happens to everybody, everyone's just like, oh, like there is no foundation. But also some people become apparent that are there for you. But in terms of change, and it changes your outlook, which is like, some people, want to go and travel the world. And to me, it was like, no, I realise who's important, what's important, and how I spend my time. And to me, that is like, I didn't live here at the time. I lived in Leeds. Like I've moved back. I've like reevaluated to me what is important.
Do you think like stuff like this, do you think therapy has, if anybody has been to therapy, or do you think therapy is something that helps you figure this out, or has this been things that you've figured out on your own?
So I have a very strange, I've never been to therapy. I probably should go. But it's like, people are always as shocked and like, you've never been to therapy after like such a traumatic event. And I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't feel.
I'm exactly the same.
I don't want to. And everyone's like, but it's the first step, and as soon as you go, you'll feel better. But I'm like, I have such a good support network that if I need to talk to somebody about it, I can talk to them about it.
Yeah.
And I don't feel the need to go and talk to a stranger about it.
Yeah.
And some people cannot understand that, because some people like to talk, and like I don't like to talk.
Yeah, I'm the same, yeah.
And I know that for some people, they're like, they can't understand that. But I'm like, I can't understand why you would want to do that.
I remember being 14 and my mum being like, we are going to family therapy. We are going to therapy, what have you. And I never forget, I was 14 years old and I walked in.
You just immediately
I sat
defensive.
down, I crossed my arms like this. I looked at one spot and I thought, I am not even going to make a micro change in my face. This woman will not read me like a book. This is not happening. You will not get inside of my head. Absolutely not. I don't want to talk to you. And I was rude for the first time in my life, because up until that point, I'd always appease other people.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like, nope. And I sat through the full hour and they asked me questions and I just stared at the floor with this look on my face. Just nope.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I didn't want to talk. And I was like, I have friends who I'll speak to if I want to speak to them. I don't want to talk to you. I'm not doing it. And I have therapy. I've had therapy since. And I actually have found a really lovely therapist recently. And I actually don't mind speaking to her, mainly because she's hilarious. And she makes light of what we're talking about sometimes. And she makes jokes.
You feel comfortable.
And I'm like, that's funny.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pleased you're making us laugh, but I cannot be the person personally who sits and talks and feels sad. That's just not me.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
What about you?
I've had CBT.
Yeah.
Well, I've had one session of CBT and I just told her exactly what she wanted to hear. And she went, this isn't working.
Did you? Yeah.
And I went, I know.
What, is in like she saw through it? What do you mean? Like she...
I've been there as well, actually.
I just gave her the answers that ticked all the boxes.
Did she not delve any deeper?
She was like, if you don't tell me the truth,
right,
this won't work.
I once had therapy session. I gave my mum and Foster's. God, my mum's forced her to do therapy all my life. I'm looking back. I was another age. I think I was about 23 and she'd forced us. At the time, I was having a really difficult relationship with food. And she'd forced us to go. And I got to the session one day and I genuinely just pissed myself laughing the entire session. And every time she looked at us and was like, she was proper serious. And I was like, ha, 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 just literally laughing in our face. And she was like, this is called hysteria. And I was like, I'm really sorry, it's just funny. I genuinely was like a naughty school kid.
Yeah.
Just laughing. That's how uncomfortable it made us.
Was that like the defense mechanism?
It literally was pure hysteria.
Yeah,
just total defense of, I'm not speaking to you.
Yeah.
So I just laughed all the way through. I think I paid our money for that, you know.
It's hilarious.
There is like laughing therapy you can go to.
Oh, we've done it. We've done it. Laughing yoga. Me and Kirsty and me two best friends had booked it for mine and Kirsty's birthday one day. Oh. Possibly the funniest but most awkward thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Just the thought of it makes me want to die.
So we went to my friend Kaylee's house and she was like, we've got a surprise. We were like, what the hell? And this woman came in with a puppet.
Shut up.
I'm not even joking.
What kind of puppet?
Like a one that goes on your arm.
No, but what was it? Its face?
I don't know. I can't remember. I'm traumatized, I think. No, it was like a puppet. And we were like, Kaylee, what? And Kaylee and Chelsea were stood like really awkwardly, like, and Kaylee was like, so we're going to do laughing yoga. And I was like, all right. So
this is why I don't like organised fun.
This is what it started. And she was like, okay, so we're going to do the vowels. A, so ha, ha, ha.
No,
ha,
nah.
E, he. So we were all stood there doing this. And obviously at some point you just crease laughing. And then she used
was
the
she
puppets.
deadly serious?
Deadly serious.
Nah.
And by the end, Kirsty was cackling at the top of our lungs. They must have been able to hear her down the street. And I got it on the GoPro. But one of the funniest things I've ever done, genuinely, we really enjoyed it. The point where my other friend was like, I'm going to try that with my team at work.
Oh my God.
But she did it on Zoom. Right?
Oh,
with
no.
that,
No.
It just said it went down like a lead balloon. So she said there was just this woman going, ha, ha, ha. And everyone's looking at her like, are you insane?
Oh my God.
I'll die.
Yeah.
Please let's not ever
I've
do that.
got an idea for the next team build.
No.
Yeah, laughing yoga.
I'm tapping right out of that one. I want no dealings.
Dear me. So yeah, I think definitely we know trauma and kind of major life events and loss can be a massive a massive effect on all of us as people. There's other things that I think change people in terms of life that we haven't touched on, and we're not going to delve into too far, but things like addiction, things like levels of manipulation and abuse and things that people go through. If someone's listening and thinking, I want to change, I really want to change my habits, I really want to change my ways, I really want to change how I react to the world, I really want to change, have you got any advice, what you're kind of, because there's a difference between us changing because something happens and then us actively trying to change as people.
My advice would be a bit like, and you're going to laugh at this analogy, but if you want to get a tattoo, I always say if you want to get a tattoo, get the image that you want and pin it to your wall.
Right.
And if you can bear to look at it on the daily for a month, 2 months, 3 months, then tattoo on your body. Same with, if you feel like you want to change, park it. And if you still keep coming back and thinking, no, that's something I want to do, that's something I want to do, chances, because you've got to really want something. It's like when somebody is overweight or somebody smokes or somebody's an alcoholic or a drug addict, they've got to really, really want the change. You've got to make that, and for me, it's always a penny dropping, or some for some people it's hitting rock bottom. You've got to really want to change, because the wanting to change is the 90% of actually doing the change. Yeah. So just make sure it's not a passing like, oh, I really want to lose 3 stone. Like, well, don't we all? But how badly do you want to do that? What are you willing to do? And realise that you can't just say, I want to change X, Y, Z without your whole life changing as well. You can't, for instance, like, I've never, and I realised this in a moment of self-reflection not so long ago, I can't remember what life was like without some kind of crutch. So I use smoking, drinking, food as a crutch. And so realise, if you want to take one of those things out, you are taking away your crutch. So the way you live your everyday life will change.
Yeah.
So just don't underestimate what seems like what seems like a small change, how massive it's going to be, because it will ripple and it will affect everything. So just kind of like, don't be flippant about it.
Yeah.
And
take it seriously.
Yeah, make sure you do really, really want it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to...
Have you got any advice?
I'd say, like, ask yourself why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, why? Make sure you're not doing it for somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, exactly what you're saying. Like, you're doing it for yourself because it'll take a good deal of... And just make sure that you're not doing it for, like, the wrong reasons as well.
Yeah. I think... Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
No, yeah. That's not the wrong reasons, that you try and be, like, positive with it rather than negative.
Yeah, I think that's my advice. I've said this before, but I'll stand by it. If we my advice is go into the deeper rooted, like why you want to change. Like, ask yourself why. Just keep asking that question. If somebody has, I don't know, if you're listening and you've cheated on your partner and you think, I'm not going to cheat again, or whatever it might be, ask yourself a little bit further, like, why did I do that? Because I was drunk. Why? Because I needed to let my head down. Why? Because I wanted a bit of fun. Why? Because I worked too hard. Why? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then you'll finally realise, actually, it's not about focusing on not cheating. It's about making time for you to do something good for yourself that makes you feel better about you.
Yeah.
And then you'll get to how. If you delve into that why, then you'll realise it's the same with, like, losing weight. Like, we've done this before.
Yeah.
If you are like, no, I really want to change my eating habits, or if you've got struggles with that, again, if you delve into why, you can figure out sometimes it's to do with self-esteem, and you have to work on that first.
Yeah.
Don't work on your diet and your food and everything else. Work on your self-esteem. Tell yourself every day that you like yourself. Tell yourself something good about yourself. Those are the things that I think, when people say they're working on them, that's what I think, that's what it means to me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what that means. It means self-reflecting and asking why, to find out what they should be doing, like how they change next.
That always reminds me of Russell Brand, whose books on addiction are unbelievable. I would highly recommend them all. And he says that he is of the opinion, and again, it's just an opinion, that treating heroin addiction with methadone is like moving around the furniture on Titanic to stop it from sinking.
Right.
And that to me is kind of encapsulates what you're saying. Like you can lose weight, but is that going to actually improve your self-esteem?
Yeah, exactly.
Or is it just
shuffling the furniture
around?
Yep, exactly, totally. I think it is about getting to the deeper root issues, asking why, to find out what your how is next.
Yeah.
And I think don't be afraid to let go of that person, like the person that you were. If you have changed, or you are going to change.
Well, that's very good advice.
Like don't like constantly think like, I want to be back to that person. I want to be that person. I'm not going to be that person again. And I've accepted that, and I'm like, this is who I am now.
Yeah.
And there's bits and pieces that I can change and improve on, or help myself.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be that person.
I need to do that.
And
I've just done it
back to drawing a line. Doesn't it?
That's very good. Yeah.
I've just done it this morning.
Yeah.
Showing everyone in the office a photo that came up on Time Hop where I literally look like Jack Skellington. Really? And I'm like, look at me, look at what I used to be. And it's like, but I'm not the same person I was 5 minutes ago, never mind 6 years ago. Like, come on, Laura, get a grip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Oh, well, this was really interesting. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having us.
I've been so open. You guys are fab. I love yous. Thank you for listening or watching. If you are not watching, go on YouTube and watch.
Yes.
Get to see our lovely faces. And we will see you guys next week on Just Another Group Chat.